Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with a very unfortunate video that I wish I wasn't making. I'm sure you guys have heard the news that unfortunately JDF, Jason David Frank, who we know played Tommy Oliver, has passed away. Even more unfortunately, due to suicide, and honestly, it's a huge shock. This one even more so because, JDF and Tommy's kind of almost always in the PR conversation or in the forefront of your mind when you're talking about it, and his image is everywhere, and, the fandom's always talking about him, and I'm still shocked and feel like we're living in a reality where this didn't happen. Like, I saw the news this morning, and I guess it happened last night, or the news was going around last night, and I didn't see it. I just saw a bunch of, catching up on Twitter type of stuff about it, and it was unconfirmed, and I was hoping, like, please just let this be, when social media all of a sudden decides someone's dead, and that's happened before. I'm sure you've seen that happen before, when all of a sudden social media is like RIP whoever, and then they're like, no, I was hoping for that. And unfortunately, a little while ago, as of this recording, it was confirmed. It's shocking. I know that a lot of us have had mixed feelings on JDF. People in the fandom, even the actors, even some of the actors have been saying they had mixed feelings on him when they're giving their condolences. But you can't deny he had an impact, and he was a human being. I think sometimes us, in the fandom, any fandom, can sort of get so caught up in our own desires and likes for the show and our attachment to the character and the fictional nature of it, we sometimes forget that there's like real people working on this, which unfortunately takes like awful form in many different ways. And in retrospect, it seems so silly now to think about myself and others being like, oh, it's kind of fine that Tommy's not in the anniversary special because, he's gotten so much focus. And now it's like, damn, I wish things could be different and he was still here and he was in the special, I know that he had some troubles with Hasbro about getting into the special or whatever. I don't know. I feel like it's almost disrespectful to even speculate because I know that he's going through a lot, and so I don't even want to get into that. I just wanted to talk about it. And I'm going to end the video just talking about some favorite Tommy memories and encourage you to share your favorite memories of the character, why he was maybe special to you in the show, maybe some memories from meeting him, just kind of end on a positive note, I guess, in celebration of his life rather than, that kind of disrespectfully speculating on what might have caused it because, you never know what's going on in someone's head. So I'll just say that in regards to that, it's just extraordinarily sad, especially for someone that was so important for so many. And, for myself included, like, I've had some mixed feelings on him in recent years, but he was one of my heroes when I was a kid. He was and is one of my favorite Rangers, in the series, despite, people complaining about some oversaturation. That really doesn't matter now. He was a huge impact on the brand, and you can't deny that. And I think the positive of his character and influence outweighed the negative overall. So let's talk about, some of our favorite Tommy memories. Because like I said, he was a huge impact on the franchise. He was like the longest running Ranger. He had probably the longest reach in terms of legacy. I mean, Green with Evil, obviously, and the Green Ranger is the most iconic image and character aspect that I think he leaves behind. And he even, I think that ultimately became his most favorite aspect of it because it was the most iconic. But for me, it was always the White Ranger or the transition from white to green, or green to white, yes, that made him my favorite when I was younger because I always thought it was cool. Like for me, I've mentioned this in previous discussions and reviews, but the White Ranger suit always physically, for me, represented Tommy's full redemption. And I always thought it was cool when I was younger, and even now, that, like, he was chosen and forced to do these evil things, and then he ultimately used it all, used the powers he had until the bitter end of the powers for good. And with that, he earned, this new suit to become this new white knight in shining armor and be the leader of the Power Rangers. I always thought that was really cool. That was probably my favorite aspect. Not to mention, it was just cool to see him in that era continue to, live on in the series and go through different mantles as a Red Ranger twice over. And I thought that was really cool. And to see his evolution from, the evil Green Ranger to becoming a good Six Ranger and then becoming like the traditional Red Ranger, I thought that was always really cool. Obviously, another huge favorite memory of mine, probably my favorite version of the character, is when he came back in Dino Thunder. You know, that was before we did so many returns and talks of returns. That was something really special at the time, you know, and it was exciting. And the only year I ever fell out of PR was like Ninja Storm for just a little bit. You know, I kind of wasn't following it as much, but then when I heard he was coming back, I'm like, I have to check this out, you know, because he was one of my favorites when I was younger. And he was so good in Dino Thunder, honestly. I think that it was, like I said, my favorite version of the character. I think it really showed, I think JDF's acting very much so improved in that series too, but I think that also just the character, I like the way they evolved it, where I think Tommy's character in that really shined as a mentor. And you know, we've had mentors in the series before where they have some sort of past experience that you're told about, but in this case, like, you got to watch it. You knew, you lived the experience he had, and when he brought wisdom to the Rangers there, it meant something because you knew that you like watched him go through that, and I thought that was really cool. And I think that it was like kind of the ultimate pinnacle of like Prime Universe Tommy was, you know, him as a mentor. You know, also I'm especially now in retrospect even more grateful for Dimensions in Danger. A lot of people, you know, harped on the Tommy focus of all that, which again now with all this seems kind of silly in retrospect, but one of the things I always liked about that special was something unique about the Power Rangers franchise, you know, that's different from Sentai and just that makes it kind of different, is the fact that we had these characters, especially in the early days, that went on to have so many different Ranger powers. And Tommy had the most Ranger powers of them all, not to mention he was like the only one to come back as a series regular like years later. So that was such a cool celebration of something that made PR unique and the Tommy character, which was central to it. And, you know, I know people had mixed feelings on it for various reasons at the time, but I'm so glad it exists now as kind of this, you know, like real last on-screen appearance to him that was a nice tribute to the character's legacy. And it was nice that we got Soul of the Dragon as well as sort of, you know, at this moment, the last story for Prime Tommy. I think JDF, if I remember, had some collaboration on that, or some input. There we go, that's the word. So I think I'm glad that those two things exist. Like, you know, it's kind of like a blessing in retrospect having Dimensions in Danger and Soul of the Dragon as this nice send-off for the character, because we're not going to see Prime Tommy in the show ever again. I don't know if they'll ever do anything with his character Prime version in the comic. I kind of hope they leave it off at Soul of the Dragon. But like, I think thankfully what's kind of nice is that his legacy will live on. I think that, you know, in terms of the Power Rangers brand, the character's image will always be there, and so he'll always live on with that. And I think the version of Tommy in the comics can live on as sort of a tribute, which I think is nice. And that brings me to you know, one other nice thing I wanted to bring up about like a nice Tommy memory is I thought it was really cool he got to play Evil Draken, because like I said, I think Tommy is a mentor, was my favorite version of the character, but I think JDF's best performance was as Evil Tommy. And I have to give him credit for, he did a really good job at playing like a courageous, kind of softer, gentle leader, but then he could be really like maniacal, like evil when he wanted to play the Green Ranger or Draken. And getting to see him play Draken for that live action trailer, or he voiced it in the game, was really cool, you know, because that's kind of the version that made him iconic, and to see him get to play ultimate pinnacle of that was also just kind of especially a nice treat in retrospect. But I'm going to end it off here. I just want you guys to, you know, share your favorite Tommy memories in the comments if you want to, your favorite moments from the show, why maybe that character was special to you, maybe some nice memories of having met him, because I know he met a ton of fans. He's probably like the one that met the most fans and went to the most conventions out of any of them. He was definitely the biggest star of that. So just let me know in the comments, guys. You know, I hope you have a good one. Awesome Rider, signing out.